Okay, finally, last topic. Hopefully, you made it all the way to the end. So, the hypoglycemia. Why is that sugar so important? Well, first of all, we talk about, and this is why I made it the last topic. So, we talk about that person can be, so they can be in shock. So, the circulation doesn't happen very well. Because of that, too, the body will try to compensate. So, we'll increase the heart rate, we'll increase the body and stuff, which will make somebody use way more of their sugar because they need more energy to try to create, because it's just like when you go running. That's why you lose calories and stuff when you run, because your heart rate is go. But that you're running or you're not running but the body still goes fast, will use enough, will use more energy, and he's trying to heal himself, so he needs energy as well. With the hypoxia, you may breathe a little bit faster as well, so that means you may need more energy. Hypothermia, because you're shivering, you're using more energy. So if you're in a cold environment outside in trauma, you may use more energy. If you're using more energy, that means your reserve are starting to go down. And if you don't have the right reserve, two things can happen. And well, one, the body will start metabolizing the wrong stuff to try to compensate. So with fat and stuff, which can worsening your the whole cascade of stuff that's kind of going wrong now with the trauma, because you have more acids and stuff, and it's very inefficient. And because you're in, let's say you're already in hypoxic mode, when you go into anaerobic mode, your body will create a lot of things like lactate and other stuff as a byproduct of what they're using. And what we're using as a cell for fuel is called ATP. And in the anaerobic state, so that means, like, the body is trying to use more oxygen because you're in shock and things like that, it will produce just 2 ATP versus 36 when it has oxygen in it. And we'll start using other stuff like bad sugars and, like I was saying, and things like that. So sugar is really important to monitor and compare. And this is one thing that I don't see much in many videos, which is surprising because it's a very important one. Like pretty much every traumas that we always get, that's one of the few questions we'll ask. Where's the sugar? And we do a sugar on everybody that comes, because we may need to do that, especially if not so much here because the weather is a little bit more mild. But when I was living in Calgary and stuff in the cold, the body will go into that shivering and stuff, and so it becomes very important to make sure that their sugar is okay. So in trauma kit, I would add like those instant glucose and even a way to monitoring, or even if you don't care, just give them some extra sugar if just in case of, and you cannot have like too much sugar, even if they're hyperglycemic already because they're diabetic or something. Your chance of bringing them to a place that is dangerous is almost minimal. So might as well give them the extra sugar. Obviously, if they're about like to fall, is their decreased level of consciousness, then a little bit dangerous. But this is where those glucose, not tablets so much, but like for example, things like in the consistency that looks like honey. And another advantage of having honey is that now you can use it for burns and stuff. So in the trauma kit, we always have that. Right? Yeah. Is that you could put them in their cheek and it will melt, and it will be absorbed of different ways, like under your tongues and stuff like that, and very unlikely they would go to your lungs. Versus if you put a tabs, a little bit more chance that you'll obstruct the airway. So you could there's another way that you could do it. Another reason to use sugar, so when sugar is bad, is again head injuries. And so if you have somebody that has a decreased level of consciousness and you don't have any way of assessing, they decrease level of consciousness because they had a head injury, or because they hurt themselves, or is it because their sugar is low? So you don't quite know. And so sometimes by giving sugar you can eliminate one, and again you can help them for other stuff. And if you have a head injury, there's two things that our brain needs like a lot, and it's sugar and oxygen. And so in a head injury situation, that could help you as well. But a lot of people don't monitor sugar, but it's a very important. It's as important as the hyperthermia, and as important as the bleeding. So it's part of those all four things that really you need to make sure that in trauma you maximize as much so they're not there. So you have a good oxygenation, you got a good sugar, you got a good temperature, and you don't lose much fluids, or you try to replenish those fluids as well. So hypoglycemia, one that I don't see many people, but I would carry on it. And like I said, if you carry those things already of honey, that means you can use them if somebody has a burn, so you can put that, so it goes well into a trauma. If they have a wound that could be infected, you put that on there. And if you have a major trauma and it's a prolonged one, or it takes you a long time to go inside the home, or you don't have access, or you cannot mobilize a person, giving them that envelope of honey can be useful. So hypoglycemia, if you have a way of assessing it, I would monitor it, but make sure that they get a lot of calories once they're on long terms and stuff, because they'll need that calories to heal, because the body is just using a lot of energy because of that, because it wants to heal, it wants to repair, so it needs all the bricks that it can from the food to fix back the body that is all broken and trying to compensate and all that stuff. So hypoglycemia, want to check, and I'll talk to you soon.